I don't remember when the mirror first changed. It used to be normal. A standard rectangular vanity mirror in my apartment's hallway, just tall enough to see yourself from head to toe, narrow enough to fit between the coat rack and the light switch. I never gave it much thought. Just another mirror you glance at on the way out. Maybe fix your hair or check if your fly's zipped. But then, one day, I saw something that didn't make sense. It was late. Probably 1:30 or 2 a.m. I had just gotten back from work. I bartend on weekends, so late nights are part of the deal. I remember setting my keys down on the kitchen counter, kicking my shoes off, and walking toward the bathroom. As I passed the hallway mirror, I saw my reflection stop walking. I didn't. I kept walking. But the version of me in the mirror just stood there, watching me. Frozen. I stopped immediately. Backed up. Looked at the mirror again. And there I was normal. Perfectly synced. Raising a hand. Blinking. Shifting weight from one foot to another. No delay. No glitch. Nothing. I laughed nervously, chalking it up to exhaustion. Lack of sleep. Maybe I blinked too long or caught a weird reflection from the hallway lamp. Nothing to worry about. Just the mind playing tricks, right? Right? But then it started happening more often. Not every night, but often enough. Once, I caught my reflection smiling when I wasn't. Just for a split second, a curl at the edge of its mouth. Gone the moment I blinked. Another time, I saw it standing a few inches closer than I was. Like it had stepped forward inside the mirror. Watching. Waiting. I tried to brush it off. Mirrors are weird. The brain's even weirder. I told myself I needed better sleep, less caffeine, more daylight. But it wasn't just the mirror anymore. It was the feeling. The feeling that something was in the apartment with me. That I was being watched even when I wasn't looking in the mirror. That if I turned around fast enough, I might catch someone or something vanishing behind a corner. I started covering the mirror with a blanket at night. Not because I believed in ghosts. I didn't. I just didn't want to see it again. That version of me. The one that seemed more alive in the mirror than I felt in real life. But the night I covered it was the first time I heard it. I was lying in bed, half asleep, when I heard the soft tap-tap-tap of something against glass. Rhythmic. Deliberate. I sat up. My bedroom door was open, and the hallway was dimly lit by the motion sensor nightlight. Tap. 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 It was coming from the hallway. From behind the blanket. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. Slowly, I stepped out of bed and tiptoed into the hallway. The tapping stopped. I stood in front of the mirror. The blanket was still draped over it, perfectly still. And then, from behind the fabric, I saw movement. Something pressed against the inside of the blanket. From within the mirror. Like a hand. Or a face. The cloth pushed outward, but didn't break through. Just enough to form the unmistakable shape of something trying to reach me. I ran back to my room and slammed the door. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the floor with my back to the door, listening, waiting. By morning, it was quiet again. The blanket had fallen to the floor. The mirror was uncovered, and my reflection was smiling. I skipped work the next day. Not because I was tired, though I was, deeply, but because I couldn't bring myself to leave the apartment. Every time I moved, I felt like the reflection was following me, even outside of mirrors. Like its presence wasn't bound by glass anymore. I tried to distract myself. Cleaned the kitchen. Rearranged the bookshelves. Vacuumed. Played music. But every time I passed the mirror, or even glanced at it from across the room, it was like I saw a moment frozen. A moment where the reflection wasn't quite right. Standing too still. Tilting its head just a bit off angle. Watching. Always watching. I finally pulled the mirror off the wall. It was heavier than I expected. Backed with thick, cold wood. No markings on the back, no brand, no manufacturer. Just smooth silver backing and a faint smell of metal. I dragged it into the hall closet, buried it behind winter coats and a box of old Christmas decorations, and slammed the door shut. I exhaled. I didn't realize how hard I'd been holding my breath until that moment. But the peace didn't last. Because that night, I woke up to the sound of breathing. It wasn't mine. It was deep, slow, deliberate, like someone standing just inches from my bed. I sat up instantly, heart hammering. Nothing there. But when I turned toward the closet at the end of the hallway, I saw it. The closet door was open. and the mirror was back on the wall, perfectly centered, perfectly clean, like it had never been removed. I stared at it, throat tight. I didn't dare move. My reflection stood still, too still. Its eyes didn't blink. And then it smiled again. But this time, it didn't stop. The smile widened and widened, lips stretching too far, unnaturally far, like skin made of rubber. Its mouth opened slightly, revealing a row of teeth that weren't mine. Crooked, small, too many of them. And then it moved. It raised a hand, slowly, deliberately. But I hadn't moved. I stayed perfectly still. Its hand rose to its neck and began to press. Hard. I leapt out of bed and ran to the light switch. The second the hallway lit up, the mirror went normal. Just me. No smile. No hands. No open mouth. No movement. I was shaking. I tried calling my sister, but it went straight to voicemail. I texted her instead. Can a mirror be haunted? She didn't reply until morning. You okay? Haunted how? I didn't even know how to answer. So I lied. Forget it. Just sleep-deprived. But I wasn't just sleep-deprived. I was being hunted by something that looked like me. The next day, I called a local mirror and glass repair shop. I told them I needed a mirror removed and possibly replaced. They agreed to come by in 2 days. 2 days felt like a lifetime. That night, I did everything to avoid looking into the mirror. I stayed in my bedroom with the door closed. I covered the windows. No reflections. No risk. But at 3:12 a.m., I woke up again. This time, it wasn't breathing. It was my voice. From the hallway. It whispered, "Come see what I found." I froze. The voice sounded exactly like me. Not just similar, it was me. The tone. The rhythm. The little rasp I get when I'm tired. But I hadn't spoken. I crept to the door, slowly turned the handle, and peeked out. The hallway was empty. But the mirror was fogged over. Like someone had breathed on the inside. And on the fog, letters were smeared with a finger. H.I. And beneath it, written smaller. You look tired. I stepped back. The fog began to fade. The words disappeared. And my reflection stared back at me. But something was off. It was wearing a shirt I hadn't worn in months. A pale green t-shirt with a small bleach stain on the collar. I'd thrown that shirt away. I watched in silence as it blinked, and then tilted its head to the side, studying me with curiosity. And then it mouthed a word. Not out loud, just the shape of the mouth. It said, "Soon." The next morning, I tried to convince myself it was sleep paralysis. A lucid dream. Something rational. That the mirror hadn't actually fogged, that I'd imagined the writing. That my reflection hadn't mouthed anything at all. But the bleach-stained shirt still haunted me. I searched my closet, the hamper, even the old donation bin I kept in the storage room. Nothing. The shirt was gone. I'd definitely thrown it out months ago. And yet, the thing in the mirror had it. That night, I made a decision. I wouldn't sleep. If it was strongest while I was asleep, or trying to sleep, I'd stay awake and monitor the mirror. Record it. Prove to myself something was wrong. Something real. Something outside of my own head. So I set up my phone on a tripod in the hallway. Focused directly on the mirror. Plugged it into the wall to keep recording through the night. And then I sat on the couch with a cup of coffee, eyes trained down the hallway. Midnight passed. Nothing. 1 a.m. Quiet. 2 a.m. The building creaked. A dog barked faintly outside. Then, 2:36 a.m. The lights flickered. Not the lamps, the hallway nightlight. It dimmed slightly, then pulsed, like something was feeding off it. And then the mirror rippled. I mean that literally. Like someone had thrown a pebble into a pond. For a second, the glass shimmered, like a layer of water was spread across its surface. My breath caught in my throat. And from within the mirror, another version of me stepped forward. Not out, not yet, but close. So close that the surface of the mirror began to bulge, pushing outward in waves. It didn't blink, didn't smile this time. It just stared, and then raised both hands and pressed them against the glass. I stood up, knocking the coffee onto the rug. The thing in the mirror matched my movement, but slower. Like it was mimicking me with a delay. I raised my left hand. It raised its right, just like a real mirror. But then I slowly raised my right hand too. And it did the same. It copied both hands, not mirrored them. Like a twin, not a reflection. I stepped backward. My heart was slamming against my ribs. I glanced at my phone. Still recording. I whispered aloud, "You're not me." The thing behind the glass smiled, not wide like before, but gently, softly, almost sympathetically. Then, without warning, it lifted its hands to its own face and began peeling the skin away. No blood, just silence. It dragged its fingers down its face like it was removing a mask, exposing something underneath. The flesh stretched, sagged, fell away like latex. Beneath it was a face I didn't recognize. Not mine. Pale, hollow-cheeked, eyes like black glass. A mouth that was too small, until it suddenly wasn't gaping open in a silent scream. I ran forward and ripped the phone from the tripod. Stopped the recording. Looked back at the mirror, and everything was normal again. Just me. No twin. No peeling skin. No smile. But when I checked the recording, there was nothing. Static. 2 hours of black screen and soft crackling. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. The next day, I went to the antique shop. I hadn't bought the mirror there. It came with the apartment, but I needed someone who might know. Someone who dealt in strange things. The bell above the door jingled as I stepped in. Dust hung in the air like fog. Shelves lined the narrow aisles, cluttered with old clocks, porcelain dolls, war medals, mirrors. So many mirrors. A woman with white hair and yellow-tinted glasses stepped out from behind a red curtain. She wore a maroon shawl and moved with the eerie grace of someone who already knew why I'd come. "You've seen it, haven't you?" she said. I froze. "What?" "The twin in the glass." My mouth went dry. She nodded slowly and motioned for me to sit. "They're not ghosts. And not demons either. They're echoes. Cast-offs from other realities. Sometimes, when people die in one world but not another, the version that dies doesn't fully disappear." I stared at her. "You're saying my reflection is a dead version of me?" "Not dead," she whispered. "Just displaced. Hungry. For what?" "To live." She leaned in. "If it's mimicking you, it's getting stronger. And if it's no longer reversing its movements, it's no longer bound by the mirror. It's learning how to replace you." My stomach turned. "How do I stop it?" She looked at me with a sad smile. "You can't." She handed me a small pouch salt, she said. "Old, blessed, preserved in shadowed cellars. Sprinkle it in front of the mirror. Don't let it speak your name. Don't let it touch your skin. And most importantly, never, ever, answer it when it knocks. Knocks. You'll know." That night, I didn't sleep again. I sprinkled the salt across the floor in front of the mirror. Set up candles. Prayed, though I hadn't prayed since I was 13. And I waited. At 3:13 a.m., the knocking began. 3 soft raps on the inside of the glass. And then, from the hallway, my own voice, whispering, "Are you awake? Are you awake?" That voice, my voice, floated down the hallway in a whisper so soft I almost convinced myself I hadn't heard it. But I had. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Just sat on the floor of my bedroom, back against the door, eyes fixed on the thin crack of hallway light underneath. And then, another sound. Tap, tap, tap. 3 knuckles, gently rapping against glass. Not the front door. Not a window. The mirror. I stayed still, silent, remembering the woman's warning. Don't let it speak your name. Don't let it touch your skin. And never answer when it knocks. But it was me out there. My own voice. My own words. And it sounded scared. "Please," the voice begged. "I don't know where I am. It's dark in here." I pressed my palms over my ears. "Please let me out." The whisper wasn't coming from down the hall anymore. It was inside my room. I spun around, but there was no mirror in the room. No reflective surface at all. I'd made sure of that. But I could feel it. Something just behind me, hovering. I scrambled toward the closet and threw open the doors. Nothing. But then, in the dark glass of the closet's doorknob, barely the size of a coin, I saw an eye. My eye. Staring back. Blinking independently of me. I backed away, trembling. The candles I'd lit were flickering wildly now, and the salt line, the one I'd placed earlier in front of the hallway mirror, was scattered. As if something had stepped through it. I grabbed the pouch and tried to reseal the line, but it was too late. I heard the mirror groan, a low, guttural sound like with splintering underwater. I ran into the hallway, heart in my throat, and froze. The mirror was open. The glass surface had become soft, like thick syrup or melting plastic. It was dripping slowly onto the floor, forming a puddle beneath it. And from that shifting surface, a hand emerged. My hand. It gripped the edge of the frame and pulled. Then another hand. And then my face. But it was wrong. The features were mine, but they glitched constantly, eyebrows twitching, mouth twitching from grin to grimace to blank neutrality. It opened its eyes. They were solid black. No whites. It stepped out. Fully. Naked. Dripping with mirror fluid, which steamed as it hit the floor. And then it looked at me. I stood frozen as it mimicked my breathing, my posture, my stance. And then, slowly, silently, it reached up and touched its chest. And with its fingernail, scratched something into its skin. My turn. That's when I ran. I bolted to the front door, but it was gone. I don't mean locked, I mean gone. Just smooth wall where it used to be. No knob. No hinges. The apartment wasn't my apartment anymore. The furniture was distorted. The pictures on the wall were reversed. My bookshelf now had all the spines facing in. The room was a mirror image, a perfect reversal. I'd been pulled into the mirror, and it had taken my place. I screamed, slammed my fists against the wall where the door should have been. Nothing, just cold. And from outside, on the other side of the wall, I heard my phone ringing. Not my real phone, the other one, the one in the real world. It was answering my calls now. It was in my life, and I was stuck here, in the glass. Hours passed, or maybe days. Tom was wrong inside this place. My limbs ached. I slept in fragments. The only light came from warped reflections of rooms that weren't mine anymore. Sometimes I'd see flickers, moments of the real world, like watching someone else's dream. I saw it wear my clothes, eat my food, call my sister. I even saw it at work, laughing with customers, making drinks behind the bar. No one knew it wasn't me. No one saw the difference. I wept, until one night, I heard something new. A voice, a real one, a man's. He was looking into the mirror, in the real world. He whispered, "You look tired." And that's when I realized I wasn't the first. There had been others. People trapped in this place, replaced by copies. And maybe, just maybe, there was a way out. I don't know how long I've been here. Time flows differently in this place, the mirror world. Sometimes it rushes by in a blink. Other times it slows, each second stretching into hours. Sleep doesn't come naturally. Hunger fades. Even pain dulls to a background hum. But despair? That sharpens daily. I spent the first few days, or weeks, screaming, pounding on the glass from my side, watching as my double lived my life, walked my streets, held my sister, took phone calls with my voice. It mimicked me with perfect precision. Every smile, every laugh, every tone. But the eyes always betrayed it. Because behind that performance was something empty. Something that didn't understand what it meant to be human. Only how to copy the appearance of one. And then it began pushing boundaries. It started smiling when it was alone. Long, predatory smiles in the dark, where no one could see. Except me. I watched as it stared at itself in the bathroom mirror. Not at its reflection, but at me. It knew I was there. And it was taunting me. I wandered the mirror world like a ghost, retracing the spaces I once lived in. But everything here is reversed, not just in layout, but in feeling. My apartment is here, but the furniture is twisted. Materials feel wrong. Wood is damp. Glass is sticky. Light bulbs flicker even when they're off. The only solid thing is the mirror, the one I came through. But it's sealed now, like solid ice. I can see out, see it walking around in my body. But I can't break through. I tried writing messages in the fog of the mirror, but nothing appeared on the other side. My voice didn't carry. My fists didn't make a sound. The only thing that reacts is my double. Every so often, it comes close, leans in, watches me like I'm a caged animal, and then it whispers. One word, always the same. Stay. I began losing hope, until I met the others. It happened when I wandered into the mirror version of the lobby. That's when I saw him, An older man, maybe 60, with a thick mustache and haunted eyes. At first, I thought he was a hallucination. But when I called out, he turned. "You too," he said. His name was Colin. He'd been trapped in here for over a year, real time. In the outside world, his reflection had taken his place. His wife never noticed. His co-workers assumed he'd become more distant, more withdrawn. "But they'll notice eventually," he said. "They always do." "What happens then?" He looked down. "That's when the copy starts cleaning up." "Cleaning up?" He didn't answer. Instead, he showed me something. A circle carved into the floor beneath one of the warped chandeliers. It looked ancient, lined with symbols I didn't recognize. "This is the exit," he said. "But it only works one way. One way into the real world." "Yes," Colin nodded. "But someone has to take your place. The mirror always wants balance. A one-for-one trade." My stomach turned. "You mean someone else has to be trapped here?" He nodded again, eyes heavy. "Someone willing. Or tricked. Doesn't matter." I turned away. "I can't do that." He shrugged. "Then you'll rot here. Until even your copy forgets you existed." I wondered for a long time after that. Days. Maybe longer. I began to forget things. Names, smells, my own voice. But the mirror kept showing me pieces of my old life. And one night, I saw her. My sister. She was visiting the apartment. My double answered the door, embraced her. They talked. Laughed. But then it tilted its head in that unnatural way. And I saw the look on her face shift. Concern. Then confusion. Then fear. She noticed. Finally, the mask was slipping. That's when I knew. I couldn't leave her alone with it. I had to get out. No matter what it took. I returned to the circle. Colin was there. Waiting. "Who?" he asked. "There's a man. Homeless. He lives in the alley near the subway. He mutters to himself. Sees things others don't." Colin stared at me. "He's already half in this world," I added. Maybe this place won't be so different for him." I hated myself. But I whispered the man's name. The mirror shivered. The floor cracked. And the circle glowed faintly, a dull red like ember under ash. Colin smiled. "Go. Now." I stepped into the circle. The world twisted. Warped. My skin turned inside out. The air became glass. Hard, cold, and cutting. And then, I woke up. On my back. In my bed. In my body. I gasped. The sheets were damp with sweat. The ceiling was familiar. The room was warm. Real. The mirror across the hall was dark. Still. Empty. No face inside. I rushed to the bathroom. Turned on the lights. Stared at my reflection. It blinked with me. Moved with me. Matched me, perfectly. I was back. I cried for what felt like hours. That was 3 weeks ago. I've barely left the apartment since. I see my sister every day. I answer her calls. I laugh at her jokes. I try to act normal. But sometimes, I hesitate. Not because I'm unsure, but because sometimes, when I'm brushing my teeth or washing my face, I catch a glimpse of something. A flicker. A twitch. A shadow in the mirror that doesn't belong to me. And once, just once, I swear I saw Colin's face. Behind my reflection. Watching me. Waiting.